Hello, everyone. How you doing today? Welcome to Intro to 3D Design with Jaz Da Artist. I am DTM, aka Delta Tango Mike. And before we start, please check out the new Illustrator Creator Challenges with Jack Watson every weekday at 11:30 Pacific, right before this stream. Tune in and challenge yourself with a new prompt every day. Like I said, today we have the multi-talented Jaz Da Artist, who will be sharing masterworks in 3D with apps that I have yet to touch. So Jaz, please tell us a bit about yourself and what can we expect today?
Thank you so much, Dan. I'm so happy to be here. What's up, Behance family? So yes, I'm Jasmyn Johnson. I go by Jaz Da Artist on my Twitter and my Instagram. And so, yeah, we're going to be doing a little intro to 3D. I can show you a little bit of my work. I do have a lot of my work posted on my Behance, but I also have a lot of it on my website as well. I do like 3D design, creating just different scenes and using a lot of different 3D models. And a lot of the art that I create, I also like creating in VR. So I do a lot of that as well. I also do some illustrations. I had started like a poster project a while back. This was before I started venturing into 3D, and that was super fun. So, you know, kind of like you said, I like how you put it, DTM, so multi-talented. I think I would have just said digital artist, but, you know, I got a couple of things going on. So just showing you a couple of my pieces. I've been really heavy in NFTs, and that's been a very exciting journey. So here you can see some of my 3D designs. Normally, a lot of my stuff is kind of super colorful, but I have been trying to venture into different color palettes and, you know, try some different things. Then you can see some of my illustrative work, some of my poster designs that I were doing. I was trying to do a poster a day. There was a couple of people that I follow, Timmy Coker, Clarence Maluda, and they were all doing, you know, poster a day projects. And so I kind of started getting into that, and that was super fun. So you can kind of see they follow the same theme as my 3D art, just loud, colorful, crazy. You know, sometimes I don't know what I'm doing. I just figure it out as I go along. That's what it is.
That's always fun to have, is experiment, see what happens, and be happy with the happy accidents.
Result. Yeah. Happy accidents.
That's I said multi-talented. Yes, I said multi-talented because I dug through some of your live streams, and I've been a fan for a while. And it's like you work on this, and you pick up this other app, and you try to do that. And I see you in the NFT space, and like, whoa, like you taking it hard, going all in on some of these apps, and said, so I said, yeah, multi-talented is just the one word that says so much about what you do. You're awesome.
Thank you. So today we're going to be diving into Stager, and before I was a fan of Dimension, but how I came to learn about Dimension was really through Adobe Max. I had the first time it went virtual, I took off work. I was like, I got to do this 3-day conference. And that's when I learned about Dimension, and I saw wonderful, beautiful artist, powerhouse of a woman, Anna Natter. And she did a lot of creative designs, 3D art using just Dimension. And that's when I realized, like, oh, this is attainable for me. Like, it's accessible. I can do this. I've always looked at, you know, people's art that they've created 3D, and I'm like, I can never figure that out. And Dimension made it so easy. It was like that gateway into it. And then, of course, then we got Stager, which was like the, you know, Dimension 2.0, which just added so many great features. And that's really what kind of propelled me in this direction. So that's what we're going to be using today. And the great thing about what we're going to be doing is anybody can follow along, because what we're using today is free 3D models that are available on Adobe Stock. You know, we love free. I love free. You can download Stager for free for 30 days. And then we're also going to be using a lot of the built-in models. If you use them creatively, you know, you can have some crazy things kind of going on in the scenes that you create, and just come up with some really awesome stuff. So that's what we're going to do for today. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Adobe Stock. I wasn't aware in the beginning that there was so many free models that you can download. As you're searching, you'll see, I mean, they have a huge library. There's so many that's out there, but they have a ton, at least like over 1,100 that are free just for anybody to download. And so if you go to Adobe Stock, you can change this filter. Now, this is the way that I get to the free stuff. There's probably a better way. You see free here, but that's not what I click on. I click on 3D and then I type free in here. This is just what has worked for me. And then over here on this filter, let me see if I can get this filter to show up. It should show us, let's see here. I'm gonna refresh. And matter of fact, we're just gonna go back to the beginning. Let's try this again. I'm gonna type in free. And normally it's this filter would come up and it will allow me to filter on some things. Can I clear it? All right, it's not letting me clear. All right, we're just gonna go the other way. All right, I'm gonna click on all. And then if I go to 3D, let me get this out of here and redo it again.
Yep.
All right. So we got some models coming up and they will tell you, you can easily identify the ones that are free because they will actually say free. But tons and tons of models out here. And we're going to actually use, I think, 3 of the free models that they have out here that you'll be able to find. So we're going to be looking, if you notice in a lot of my artwork, I use a lot of kind of humans, I would say. You're not really going to see too many like animals or things like that. I have some objects and whatnot, but I always kind of have like a main subject, and it's normally some type of human model. And so they have this male model and this female model that we're going to use. And let's see, you can probably just type it in here. It's a male standing. Matter of fact, we'll do the female. Let's type in female, and for that I will kind of put it on 3D. And then we'll go ahead and search. So here we go. And again, you can easily tell which ones are free. If you see right here, it says free. And we have this model, this full length one. And she's actually going to be broken up into 2 different OBJs. So you have not only the base of the model here, but then you also have what she's kind of standing on. And it's as simple as just go ahead and licensing it and then downloading it. And it's automatically going to sync with my library in Stager. So I don't have to save it to my desktop and have to pull it over. If you use libraries, it's going to be right there when you need it. So you can literally go through, find all of the free 3D models that they have and literally just license them, add them right there to your library, and they're there. So we'll be using this female model. We're going to be pulling that into our scene in Stager. They also have a male one. So if you just type in male, we're going to be using this one as well. So kind of same premise here. Again, just hit license and then it'll go ahead and download it. And, for a long time, I did not know the beauty of libraries. How long you been using libraries, Dan?
Ooh, I don't, and
you don't use libraries?
I don't. I try. I don't know. I never knew that was a thing, and I've been drawing things from scratch for so long that I do use reference images, but that's about as far as I go. But this is awesome.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
I can't believe you said that. So, I mean, I'm saying I'm responding like that, but I'm telling you, it's literally probably within like the last year and a half that I came to understand the beauty of libraries, between Photoshop and, Illustrator and what I was using, Fresco and whatnot. So, I'm kind of new to the game too, but I will tell you, I will never go back. Okay. It's amazing. So the third model that we're going to be using that's free is this origami clouds. And we're going to be pulling that into our scene. So those are the 3 that you're going to need. So you can easily go up there, search, put the little tag on 3D, type in those, and then you'll go ahead. Oh, and then there's one more. We're going to use this one that's called tendrils. And it's like this little plant right here.
Ah, nice.
And again, another one. And I mean, the library out here is just like, it's so vast as far as what you can download for free. So this is the 4th one that we're going to be pulling in. All right. So once we get back into Stager, this is pretty much, how Stager looks when you first pop it open. And I would say, as you start working with it, it's super intuitive. One thing that I really like compared to other kind of softwares is a lot of the different orientations that I need to move in can all be done just with the right mouse, with my right hand on the mouse. Okay. I'm able to hold down the right click button Right, yeah, the right one. And that allows me just to rotate around the scene. If I hold down the left button, that's going to allow me to select certain things. And if I push down the middle button, I can kind of pan around what I'm doing. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to pull in some of those models that we downloaded. And so I already have them in my library. Okay. And, you know, since I've come to know about libraries, I try to keep my stuff kind of sorted. So I got a library just for 3D stuff, for materials, for certain colors, and all of that good stuff. And you can have, when you're downloading those models, you can pick which library that you've already created that you want the models to go into, so that they're already right there. And if you don't have a library you've set up, you can kind of search for them. So let's first bring in this female model. And what's awesome too about this is you can search your libraries right here in Stager. So I got a ton of, you know, models in there, because I literally went through and I licensed almost every single free one that they had. So if you're gonna give them away, I'm gonna take them. That's right. So I've licensed probably every single one. So it's really helpful that I can actually type in the one that I'm searching for, and I'm able to bring that over. So we're gonna bring over this full length female model and bring her over into the scene. And it's that simple. You can just drag her on over in there and she'll load in. Bam. So it comes in a little big. And again, I'm just using the middle mouse wheel to just kind of, you know, zoom in and out, and everything with the right hand. So I'm panning around my scene. That's with the mouse button. I want to rotate to kind of get a kind of a front view of her. I'm just holding down the right mouse button in order to kind of rotate, and just kind of figuring out where I want her placement. Now, you'll notice whenever you pull any type of object over into Stager, you're going to see those objects over here in your scene panel. This is everything that you got that you're working with that you see in your viewport. And so she came in a folder because there's actually two pieces to her. So we have her full body. And if I click on that, it kind of highlights exactly what it is that we're working with. And then we have this base down at the bottom. So you can isolate these two different things. One thing that I like to do is I like to break this folder up, because when they're grouped together and I select her, it's going to select everything. And sometimes I might just want to select this base, but as long as these items are in this group, then even if I just click on the base, it's going to select the whole thing. Okay. So I prefer to break this group apart so that when I click on this disc at the bottom, it's just going to click on that, and then I can move it independently from the model. So I love shortcuts. So I'm going to click Control-Shift-G, and that's just going to take away that folder. It's going to isolate those two pieces so I can work with them freely. So now if I click on the disc, you know, I can easily move that, and I'm not moving her. Now, sometimes when I come in and I pull these scenes together, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I don't have a final image in my mind. So I really don't throw anything away. You know, I don't know if I might want to use this disc for something, you know, so I might just pull it over to the side, and you can, I believe it's Alt-H, or it might just be, let me see, it might be Control-H in order to hide it, or it might just be H or Shift-H. It's one of them. But you can also just go up here in the scene, and you can just click on the little eyeball, and that'll allow you to get it out. You'll come to find out a lot of these softwares, especially if you use many of them that are in Adobe Suite, they all kind of have the same layout, you know, the layout. You're locking, you're hiding. They make it real easy for us to be able to transition from one to the next. So that's pretty awesome. You learn one, you pretty much can kind of learn them all. So so next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in this male model. And there's our guy right here. I'm just going to click on him, or you can kind of just drag him in, and he's going to come in, you know, kind of the same way. You can see that he's made up of those two items as well. And I'm just going to break him out so I can move him around independently. And so this gizmo here, this gizmo is super helpful because it's going to allow me to manipulate this in various ways. You have these little squares here that are going to allow you to change the scale. And so if I were to hover my mouse over it, you want to make sure that you wait until it kind of darkens. That lets you know that it's selected, and then I can scale it. Now, if you want to scale him uniformly, you hold down shift, and then I'll just make sure, a little bit bigger. The circles here will allow you to rotate. So that's helpful. If I were to hold down the shift and then rotate, it's going to rotate him in 15-degree increments. So I get a little bit more control over how he's moving. And then the arrows are simply just, moving, whether I want to move him up and down, left and right, forward and back. And so this view that I'm in, it's called the viewport camera. This is where I'm going to be doing a lot of my work and moving my models around, figuring out the correct orientation that I want to have them in. And then once I get them positioned in a way that, I kind of want them to be reflected in the artwork, you're going to kind of like take a picture of them. You're going to insert a camera, and that's the frame that you're going to be working with. But you can move freely out here in the viewport in order to kind of get everything together and kind of how you want it.
We do have one question. I want to interrupt for a second.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. You on a roll.
I was on a roll. Sorry.
So the question is, do you also make your own models with the Substance apps? I think you just said doing the scene here, right?
Yes. So this is just the scene. Now, in order to make your models, that would be Substance Designer. And boy, let me tell you, there's a learning curve with that one. Now, I did just say if you learn one Adobe app, you kind of learn them all.
Right.
That one's going to take some work. So you can, and I have not progressed to that point as of yet. Okay. But I will say, because I was able to even get this far into it, I have started having interest, and I've started teaching myself these other tools that actually allow you to model. And, that comes with a whole different skill set and knowledge base of learning topology and geometry and all of those things. But once you start creating like this, you start getting the ideas of like, oh, I might want to take, this person and twist them this way and things like that. So it motivates you to get on that path of kind of starting to learn, because you've already kind of tasted it and you're like, I really like creating like this. And so, I would, now I will say this, as far as modeling, I do have the privilege currently of being in the closed beta for Adobe Modeler.
Okay.
And that is great. And that's all I can say, because I'm under NDA. So, I don't even know if I was supposed to say that. But
well, that is super cool. And but it gives us an idea of where we are here with this app, is that, and something you said a second earlier was that you don't throw anything away. You just start adding things to your scene and then go with the flow and see what happens. And I think this app is exactly like that. It's just start to play in 3D space, 3D design, and see what happens. And if you're really that interested in creating your own, then there's other apps for that Adobe has made available. So this is just like the entrance. This is the hallway. Just come on in and see what happens.
Walk down the hallway and figure out where you want to go from there. Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes.
And I do somewhat have an interest, and like I said, I've been learning. Now, do I care to learn how to model the whole human anatomy? Absolutely not. I don't. Okay.
Right.
I want an idea to come to my mind, and I want to quickly be able to put it into fruition. And that's one of the things that I've really liked with Adobe apps, that if I have this idea of that, I want this man and this woman, and I want them laying in the grass, and this is the scene I want to build, I know that I can make that very quickly, and I don't have to rely on, me having to learn how to model. So I can very quickly put together an idea. Because I got a lot of hobbies. So I don't have just one. I got a lot of hobbies. So when I decide to sit down and create something, I want to be able to create it, knock it out in a couple hours and keep, keep going. And so that's why I have absolutely, I love Stager. I love Dimension when it was the thing. And cool. All right. So cool. Here we are. We got our two folks here. So we also, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to figure out how we might want this placement. Now, one thing that I am going to add is I'm going to add a plane. So over here in the assets panel, you have these basic shapes pre-built in with Stager. And you will notice with some of these, they have kind of like this I don't know what you want to call these little lines here, but it pretty much lets you know that I think they call these parametric models because you're allowed to tweak some of these settings. So like this sphere, I could, chop it in half and make it a half sphere. I could bevel the corners of this cube. I'll pull one in just so we can see what kind of options we have. And just with these primitive shapes, you're able to create a lot of different abstract shapes to add to your artwork. So if I were to bring this cube in, over here under my properties panel, this is going to allow me to tweak some things. So I got a couple of things this is allowing me to do. I have this transform area, which is, I can move the different positions. Everything I'm basically doing with this gizmo here, I can do. I can move the position, the rotation, the scale, the size. I can go into object, and this is really going to allow me to manipulate this object. So, width, height, depth. If I want to add a bevel, let me zoom in here. I can turn on bevel, and you can easily see how it changes. I can figure out the radius. I turn the radius all the way up, it's back to a circle. Yes. So you have a lot of control over how you want certain things to look, how many sides I want in that bevel. If I go to material, we haven't added a material yet, but then this allows me to manipulate kind of the look of the object. What base color? How rough do I want it to be? How matte, metallic? How do I want the light to bounce off of it when I put in certain environment light? So a lot of control over how you can make things look in here. Then you have a whole bunch of other models. And again, you have some of these that allow you to tweak some of the settings. And again, you can see that just because of those little lines that's in the corner of the icon there. And so those give you a lot more options. I love the fact that there's so many models that are built in to the software that you can pull over and that you can use. Wow. And, I look at these like this. I look at like this lamp. And matter of fact, we're going to use this in tomorrow's design that we make. I don't look at this as a lamp. This is a cylinder, and this is like a wireframe at the bottom. Like I probably would never use it as a lamp in my artwork because my stuff is just kind of crazy. But that's how I kind of look at these models. And even when I'm looking at them on Adobe Stock, if don't look at it as a desk, look at it as 4 sticks with some circles, and because you're going to end up breaking it kind of apart. And using it in different ways. At least that's how I kind of approach these. So when I look over here, there may be, I don't know, I can't even tell you how many. There might be 80 different things, 90. Yes. To me, there's like 180, 200, because I'm not going to use any of these probably the way that they were meant to be used. And Gareth is saying it correctly in the chat. Yeah, Stager is dimension on steroids. It definitely is. That is definitely what it is. All right, so I'm gonna get rid of this. But one thing I do want to add is a plane. I want to give these individuals a background. So I would just pull in a plane, and then I'm going to scale it up by hovering over this square here. And again, I want to make sure that it's dark, and that lets me know that I'm selecting it. I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to pull it just so that I'm making it a little bit bigger here. And then I want it to be behind them. So I'm going to hover over this circle here. I'm going to hold down Shift, and then I'm going to rotate it in 15-degree increments until it's at 90 degrees and kind of just pull it up behind these folks. So it's here. Now I'm going to figure out how I actually want my shot to look. So I'm just using my mouse and I'm trying to figure out, how do I want these folks positioned in this frame? And so I'll kind of zoom in, and when I get something that I'm pleased with, I'm going to use these icons up here, and this is what's going to set my camera. So it's literally like I'm taking a snapshot and saying like, this is how I want to frame these folks. And I'll click on the camera, and it creates a camera image. And I can always come back to this. So you'll end up working between your camera views and your viewport. You'll go back to your viewport when you're adding stuff in, you're moving things around, trying to figure out how you want everything to be aligned. And then you'll come back to your camera to make sure that everything you've added is where you kind of want it to be in the shot.
It's like you walking around the room, setting things up, putting things in order, and then walking back to where you set the camera on a tripod and check your shot.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I like it. Absolutely. I am learning so much. Oh my gosh. I'm going to try that free trial. Man.
All right. So we got our camera view. So when you have your camera set, you can change the, it says output size here. I guess I was thinking the dimensions of it. So right now it's 1920 by 1080. you know, I guess people, you could put it however you want to. I normally just stick with a 1080 to 1080. That's, you know, Instagram and with, unless I'm doing something, you know, where I might need to print or something of that nature. Yeah. And then just figure out how you kind of want them positioned. And again, I'm just using the mouse. So I'm kind of panning, trying to figure out where do I want my camera actually to be at. And I kind of want them to be a little bit closer. So I can switch back to my viewport and I can move her back a little bit. And I can always switch right back to my camera and kind of see how I've aligned them. Now, sometimes it's helpful to be able to move them within the frame that you've always set up. But if you notice, I kind of have her highlighted right now, but I can't see that gizmo. If I were to scroll back, I can see it, but now I'm changing my camera view. And so what's helpful, and that will work sometimes, is I can change the pivot point for the gizmo so that it's actually kind of in the scene. If I select her, which she's already selected, and I go over to transform, you can see the pivot is at the bottom. If I change it to the center, let's see, the center didn't give it to me, but if I change it to the top, now I have the gizmo. So now I can move her without having to necessarily move my camera view.
Yes.
And so we're just gonna move her. I kind of want, you know, him behind her, and I'm gonna change his pivot point to the top too. So I can, let me see if I can change him to the center. Kind of, it's a little bit hidden. I may just have to move back just a little bit. I'm gonna bring him down just a little. All right, and maybe her out just a little bit more. Yeah, she kind of got her hand back like, whoa, hold up, you know, pipe down, no. Yeah, so, all right, and let's get him. He looked a little crooked to me. All right. And I tell you, I can sit here and I can manipulate these folks all day. Okay. All right.
You know exactly what you're looking for. So you're doing all those little minute changes.
You know, yeah, you know when you move something or you pick the right color and you're just waiting for that feeling where you're like, it feels right. And you just keep playing until you're like, all right, that's it.
One pixel at a time. There you go.
One pixel at a time. All right. So we're back to the viewport. And what else did we downloaded? The origami cloud. All right, so let me go ahead and find that. We're going to throw that in here. And I wanted to add this just so we could put this on our lady. We don't want her to be all indecent out here. We're going to try to keep her clothed. So we're going to use this just to give her a little coverage. So all I did was kind of just scale it down. And I want to get the placement of it right. I want to get it closer to her, and I want to kind of get it placed on her body. Now, one thing that will help me do that, if you notice, you have this little, I don't think we've kind of talked about this. Matter of fact, we didn't talk about that, or these little squares. These little squares allow you to kind of align it a little bit more precise, moving back and forth, left and right. This one, if I were to grab this and go close to any object in the scene, it's going to kind of attach it to it. So it makes it a lot easier for you to at least get an object closer to another object, and then you can tweak it from there. Instead of me using this gizmo and going up, you know, right, and all of this, I can just grab it, go close to her body, and you see how it kind of, it's going, it's attaching to her. And so that's kind of what I want. I want to at least get it close, and then we'll scale it down.
It's like a snap. It's like a snap to grid, snap to object.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Snap the object, snap the grid. And I'm just placing it again, just trying to get us lay a little coverage. And so I'll kind of get this to where I think it might work, but you always got to go back to your camera view, because it may look like it's okay in the viewport until you switch back to that camera and you're like, no, it's too big. It needs to be moved a little bit more. Let's see, we're going to scale it. Just scale it down a little bit, and it's not as close. We're just going to put it, we'll put it right here. We just want to make sure she ain't out there crazy in the streets.
That camera view helps out a lot when working in 3D, because it's like a layers, but it's in 3 different dimensions of layers. And to me, that's been my problem working in 3D. And I have a VR set, I have a bunch of apps, and I'm sitting there like, well, how do I, measure and pay attention? And I think that's the part that I was missing, is that you need that one camera view where it's going to be your main shot. and you can eyeball everything from that shot,
Yep.
and then you can start making adjustments to get that shot you want.
Yeah,
so this is awesome.
It's super helpful. It's super helpful. And I don't have too much experience with other modeling softwares. I've really only kind of practiced with one in particular outside, which is Blender, but it's a lot more complicated to add cameras and to set them up, but that, you know, it has the same premise to where you can set up the camera on the side, and that way you always kind of have that view. But they make it very easy in Stager just to kind of get everything lined up and switching back to that camera view. And you can set multiple camera views. So let's say if I knew for a fact, you know, I want this front shot of them, or kind of side shot, however you want to look at it. But maybe also too, I wanted another shot maybe from this side, you know, I would have to put a background back there, but let's say I also wanted something from this side. Well, I can just click on the camera again, and now I have another one. And I'll be able to render all of these camera shots out. So, you know, it'll give me front, side, left, whichever ones that I want. And I can quickly just switch my camera. There's the front one. There's the side one. Yeah. So that's good. Very, very easy to do. And your cameras, whenever you add them, they fall right over here in the scene underneath all of your objects. So you can easily find them. You can rename them. Some folks in the chat probably know I do not name my layers. I'm irresponsible. I own it.
I was going to say that looks like the layers window, but yes, right.
I told myself for this stream I was going to try to be responsible, but I don't think it's going to work. Do you name your layers?
All the time.
All the time. Even when you were doing the skulls, because some of them files, them layers was crazy. Yes,
especially with that, because I want to go in and make adjustments and changes. And I don't want to spend a lot of time trying to figure out where is this thing, clicking on it, and having to turn things off and on just to find this thing I'm looking for. So if I have everything named, then it's real easy. But yeah, I'm a layers naming person.
Okay. All right. I gotta grow up. I'm not there. You know, it hasn't backfired on me yet. I'm sure one day when it backfires, then y'all gonna see me start naming them layers. And be like, oh, something must have happened, because she's naming stuff.
When you work with others, you need that kind of a mapping that layers gives you. Yes.
I can see that being helpful, especially if you're doing client work and you got to send them, you know, the source files afterwards. You don't want them seeing like man 22222222. That's how my stuff will be layered. Look, I feel like some people are. I see Bliss. I can't keep my eye on the chat like that, but I see Bliss saying something. Jazz is feeling called out. Okie dokie. Alrighty. So, all right, we got our Adobe stock models that are in there. Oh, we have the, we're going to add that a little bit later. So we're going to use some of these built-in models. And this abstract one, let me go back to the viewport, because this abstract little crazy looking loop here is pretty cool. So I'm going to click on that and just bring it in, because this is a parametric one as well. I'm going to bring it over here to the side so we can see how crazy we can get with this. If we go into object, we got a lot of options that can change the height of this shape, how many curves there are, how the distance between spreading the curves, and all of those good things. So let me make sure I grab the right one here that I want to use. Yep, I think this is the right one. Abstract loop. Yep. So if I were to just start playing with the height, you know, I can stretch it out.
Wow. I
can bring it down. Let me get it about right here.
It can be earrings. That can be a bracelet.
Yeah, it can anything, be necklace, whatever you want to put it on somebody's hair. You can do whatever you want to with it. Yeah. How many curves are actually in there? You can make it so that there's just a few of them. You can make it really heavy, so there's a lot. How do you want the curve spread? You know, I mean, it can get super, super crazy. Spins, just so many different options. And again,
that's a weapon. Is just look at that. Yes, you throw it at somebody and it expands.
You know, it kind of looks like a what's those things we used to play with as a kid? Slinky.
Yes, that's right.
Slinky, the slinky going down the stairs. But you know, especially if you're into creating a lot of abstract 3D art, then I mean you can go wild with something like this. So we're going to use this, but I don't want it to be this heavy. I want just a couple of curves. And I think we can even there's an option possibly on how maybe thick we want them. Let's see, spiral loops, shape radius. Maybe not that. But it's the options are endless. So I'm going to try to find something that's not too, that might be good. Let's bring this on over here to our people. And so I'll pull this in here, and I may have to play with it a little bit, scale it down. I wanted to make it look like they're just, you know, it's just them together in this mist of craziness.
Energy.
Energy.
Yes.
I want to scale it down a little bit more.
There's a part in every designer's career where they learn one new tool, and then from then on, all their designs have that new tool. That's me right there. All my new drawings, they're gonna have that field of energy now. That's it.
I know how that is. You learn something, and whether it's a color palette or a certain type of brush, and you're like, oh yeah.
We're using this.
This is my go-to. This is go-to. When we get to adding materials, there's a material. I promise you, when I come into here, I try not to use it. I try, and I fail every time. I have to put it in at least every artwork. If it's not a part of the bigger picture, just a small item somewhere. But I've been using it a lot, and I'm trying to get away from it, but I can't. So I'm not gonna fight it anymore. So what I'm kind of going for here is I don't want it to be too crazy, but I want it to kind of interconnect to where you see how this is kind of going into her. I also want there to be one that's intersecting with him to kind of show that interconnectivity. So it takes kind of some playing around with, some rotating to kind of get them how you want them lined up. And I'm not too upset with that one, but I would kind of go over here and I would keep playing, not so much with the height, but maybe with the curves a little bit more, just to see if I can get them to intersect with the models the way that I'm kind of envisioning. I don't want too many kind of going in there. Oh, you know what? And this is pretty awesome too. So let me take the amount back down. That's not enough. I want a little bit more than that. So let's bring that back up to 3. But if I go to random seed and I move this, it's just going to kind of randomize it for me. So I can just sit here, and if I see one that kind of works, then I can just kind of stop it where I want it. Let's see what else we got.
I'm going to take a moment to let everybody know that you're just joining us right now. Jaz Da Artist, multi-talented Jaz Da Artist, is creating a scene in Stager. Go ahead and download a free trial of Stager and check out the free 3D models in Adobe Stock. Go ahead and set up your materials and try it out for free. And if you get a chance to follow along, please do so, because I know I'm learning a lot right now. And I think I am going to go ahead and try the trial tonight.
Man, try it out. Try it out. You know what? This is not bad. I think we may work with this. I got an intersect in here, which is cool. I like it going through here. And the plan is to use some cylinders to kind of make it look like nodes. So I want to put some cylinders wherever we got these openings, just to kind of give it, I don't know, you call it robotic feel or something like that.
Matrix.
Yeah, something like that. They're plugged in. Now, one thing I do, the camera is situated kind of the way that I want to, but if I were to use the mouse wheel to scroll in, it's really getting too close. And so it's going in certain increments. I'm not even sure the increments in which it's zooming and in and out. But to get a little bit more control over the zoom, there's actually 2 ways I can do it. I can go under my scene and I can just select the camera here. And I have this focal length, which allows you to make small adjustments to the zoom. I can also go over here on the left-hand side, my tool side, and I think I could change it to the dolly. Let me see, where's the dolly tool? I think it's this thing right here. And clicking on that gives me more control just using the mouse. So I can figure out exactly where I want it. Because sometimes using the mouse wheel, it zooms in a little too much, or it might zoom me out a little bit too far. Nice. Alrighty.
We got a question in the chat.
Yep.
That's a question I had too a second ago. Is it possible to do 3D animation in Stager?
It is not.
Okay.
It is not. But you know, that was a question that came up. I was watching one of the live streams with the 3D Substance group, and I don't know if it was during Max or if it was one of the latest live streams, but that came up, and they did say that that is something that they are looking to. That would be a great day when animation comes into Stager. Great day. I'm waiting for it. So it's good to know that it's something that they're looking into, and it seems like it's on their roadmap to explore. So that would be amazing. I'm waiting for it. Alrighty, so let's pull in. We're gonna go back to the viewport. I want to pull in one of these cylinders. And this is what we're kind of going to use as our little node here. I'm just going to zoom in, and I'm just going to, I'm literally just scaling it down. And I'm going to want it on these models. So I'm going to use this part of the gizmo. I don't know what this is called, but when you click on it, and like I said, you take it over here to the models, it's going to go up your body.
Look at that. What?
And that's going to allow you to, I know I need to get it on him somewhere. So it's going to allow me to get over there a lot quicker.
Gareth is saying that he makes scenes in Stager and then pushes them over to Aerial to add animation. Ooh. So there you go. And Bliss is saying, that's right, I would totally need to upgrade my equipment if they do that. Yes. Yeah. So combination of apps.
Heard about that. Yeah. I like that. All right, let me get back to my camera. And we haven't even turned the ray tracing on. Y'all might be looking at this and been like, all right, this is okay, Jazz, but this don't look like much right now. That's because we have not turned on the ray tracing. Ray tracing changes everything when it actually starts calculating the lights and the materials and things like that. And normally I'll just work with ray tracing on. I'm trying not to, so we can maintain some bandwidth. Okay. But everything will come together, and you really get to see how the models looked with the lights. And we still have to add materials and things of that nature. But if you're looking like, oh, why they look like that? That's because we haven't calculated everything. But when we hit this toggle, things is going to change. So I'm going to go back to the viewport. So I added this one little cylinder here, and I like the way this looks. So I want to add another one, and I can easily just duplicate this one. And that's by using, I mean, of course you can go up here to the top, hit object, or let me see, it might actually be under edit and hit duplicate, but the hotkey is Control D. So I would just make sure I have it selected, hit Control D, and I'm literally just going to try to move this one over to this lady here. I'll place it close to where I need it, and then I'll go into my camera view and then really try to get it where I want it. And I'll probably scale this one down a little bit more.
Yeah, very nice.
And there like that.
And when you say you're trying to preserve bandwidth, it's because it takes a lot out of your machine, out of your computer to render all those things.
Yep, on the graphics card, it's gonna it pretty much is almost like a real-time rendering machine is what the ray tracing is going to do. So it's going to start calculating whatever light. There's a default environment light that Stager has, and we can change that, and I'll show you guys how soon once we get to that part. But it'll start calculating those shadows and light bouncing off the objects and all of those things. So it uses a lot of power from the graphics card. It's not going to cause us no issues, but
right. It's kind of like rendering video. You render the video at the end when you've done all your edits and cleanup. I get it.
So let's see. We're going to go ahead and add one over here. So I'm going to I'm going to select it, hit Control D again. I have that other one. I'm just going to use that. And then I'm just going to kind of rotate it and figure out how I want it.
Bam.
There we go. Not bad at all. All righty. So next, let's go ahead and I think we're going to do some lights. So we're going to go ahead and turn on ray tracing. Matter of fact, actually I want to add some other things. We're going to do ray tracing. We're going to add some stuff, and then we'll add some more things.
Yes. Take your time. No worries.
Let's see. I think Cody Bear was asking, what is your hardware or laptop setup to run this program? If you don't mind, what is your GPU, RAM? So my GPU right now, I have a NVIDIA 3070 GeForce RTX graphics card. I will say though, I was running this before on a MacBook Pro, and it was only a 2018. And, you know, it took a little time to render, but it worked. So, you know, you don't have to have something like this. I've heard that it also runs fantastic if you have a 3090, which, you know, I'm dreaming about that. But you don't have to have this crazy of you know, a graphics card. My RAM, I have a lot of RAM in there, but I don't think is necessarily needed for that. I think I got 32 gigs of RAM. But again, I know for a fact my MacBook Pro did not have that. So it had 16. So it definitely can work. You will have some, it will take you some time to render it. It definitely did for me, but you will get a finished product. So, alrighty. So we're going to go ahead and turn on ray tracing. And now we haven't really added any materials, but you can kind of see the difference that it went through. I don't really like this right here. We're gonna have to figure that out. And I'll turn it back off so you can kind of see. So you're really not getting too many shadows, anything like that. But when we turn the ray tracing on, this is really capturing how that finished product is kind of actually going to look. So we have some environment lights. And Stager has a lot of built-in environment lights that you can use. Over here in your assets panel, this is what you're going to be working with in order to pull in any of those objects. This is where you're going to find your materials. So you have these little these icons here, and this is the models one. You can click on materials and that'll show you materials, or you can just even scroll. You just keep scrolling long enough, you'll eventually let me see if I actually go to all of them. They should, I may have to go back in my libraries. Okay. Well, you can click on the material icon. It'll show you all of the materials that are there. You have different environment lights and also ways to kind of set up your cameras. You also have individual lights that you can add, area lights, spotlights, directional point lights, in order to illuminate your scene. So if we were just to kind of show you how these works, you can even import your own environment lights, and Adobe Stock has a lot of those that are also free out there as well. But if we were just to click on some of these, so you see how they work. This Studio 2, you can see how it kind of changes the feel. So it has a lot more light. This one is pretty cool. This Studio's 80s horror. This is one when I first started using Dimension I would use a lot. I thought it was just kind of cool. But you know, all different types of feels. You got some that has a lot of kind of like the yellow yellow kind of tint to it.
We need some disco, 70s disco ball light.
Yeah. So tons of them over clouds. They just kind of give you a different look and feel. And what's nice is you can rotate the camera. So over here under, let me make sure I got environment selected. So underneath the scene, if I have environment selected, I have a lot of control over the intensity of the lights as well as the rotation. So I can see the environment light that I have selected, which was just the one that I've made the selection over here. I can make it a lot more intense. I can also turn it kind of all the way down. I can also change the rotation. So, you know, you might want to know where you actually want your shadows to bounce off of and whatnot. And you can also do that. I think it's Shift. If I were to hold down Shift, and hold down the right key, I could just move the mouse.
Wow.
And I can, you know, quickly see where I might want things. So those are how our environment lights work. I really like using these physical lights. And so that's what we're going to end up using for this one. We're actually going to turn off the environment light so it's completely dark, and we're going to use the physical lights in order to kind of illuminate our scene and kind of add like a gradient type situation here. I do want to go ahead. I'm going to put some cylinders here because I don't like how that's looking. So I'm going to select one of these and hit Control D in order to duplicate it, and then grabbing that little part of the gizmo, kind of get it situated. And again, just going back to the viewport, because I don't want to mess up my camera view by zooming in here, because I don't want to set it again. I just go straight to the viewport, and then that way I can zoom in. And I'll come off of ray tracing just for a little bit. And I just kind of want to figure out how I might want to get that laid in there. And then I will do the same thing with this one. And we'll see how it looks in camera view. And let's make this one a little bit smaller.
Details. And I know we're live streaming, so you're moving fast. But I know that usually when I'm working on something, it takes, I know you want to sit there, work with the details. It takes a long time just to get it right.
Oh, you'll fixate over something like this for like hours. And then I'll be like, it's all trash. Scrap the whole project. I can't get out of here. Throw it away. Right.
And sometimes it's better to just start over than to battle something that kind of, end up frustrating. Yes.
I will tell you one thing that I've come to learn about myself, because I will get to that point to where I'm kind of frustrated, is to not throw it away. I will come back tomorrow, and there's something about me where I will look at it the next day. I've already considered that it's absolute trash when I'm just getting up from the computer. Come back the next day, and I'll be like, who created this? This looks nice. And I'm like, why couldn't I see it when I was sitting there? And I don't know. Sometimes you just, I don't know, you fixate over something and you just feel like because one thing isn't right, then everything else doesn't look good. And so I know that if I'm getting frustrated, don't delete nothing, Jazz.
There you go. Okay.
Just save it, come back, look at it tomorrow. Now tomorrow,
fresh ice.
If it's still trash, then get rid of it. but at least give yourself 24 hours.
Yes.
So
that's true.
Yeah, that has worked for me.
Okay.
All right.
I want to remind everybody that Adobe Live is hosting live streamers on Behance, so stay tuned to the rest of the programming on behance.net/live, and check out other live streamers who like to go live at different times of day and night, including the weekends. We got a lot of people in the chat watching right now, and they are streamers themselves. Big ups.
Yay, big up to the streamers. All right, so we're just gonna put that right there. We're gonna live with that for right now. I'm gonna be okay with it. So we're gonna go back to the viewport. I'm gonna zoom out because I'm gonna add some cameras. And I'm sorry, not cameras. I'm gonna add lights. So I really like using this. All of the lights are really good, but I like using this area light. It gives a nice amount of light. You're able to control the radius of it, which you can do with all of these, but I feel like the default, it just gives a very good illumination without having to adjust it too much. And so just clicking on the area light is gonna bring us a light into the scene. And if you look at the gizmo, let me bring it over here. You'll see there's a little part of it that's sticking out. Let me see if I can rotate it. You see that little part right here? That's letting you know which direction the light is shining.
Okay.
So that way, when you move it over here to your scene or wherever you want it positioned, you know which way the light is pointing. Okay. And so I kind of want this, let me get over here to make sure it's lined up with these folks. I kind of want it on the back. Maybe not that long up here. And then you can decide, if you want to rotate it, you want the light going up, you want the light going down. I don't know, let's just see what it looks like from right here for right now. Now with the lights, I have the same options under properties as you have with other things. You're able to tweak some things. So I can give this light a color. It could, be whatever color I want to. I can up the exposure, bring it down, the intensity. I could also change, the width of the actual kind of like radius of the light and whatnot. So for this one, I'm going to give this light, I want this nice kind of sultry kind of scene with these folks. So we're going to give it nice little kind of purple light. And I won't really know how bright I want it. I don't know if I really want it that type of purple. Let me see, maybe like here, maybe like that type of purple. And so to really see the effects of the light, this is where we're going to have to turn our ray tracing on, because while it is emitting some light, we don't see anything like this. Nothing is being calculated as far as the lights and whatnot. So that's where we have to turn on our ray tracing. So when I turn on the ray tracing here, is that light right here? All right, we're going to put that here. We're going to turn up the intensity of it. And now it's being canceled out a little bit because we have this bright environment light. You can probably see a little bit, but we have that environment light on. So when we turn that off, we can really see the effects that our area light is going to have. So under scene, I'm going to go to environment, And I could just go click on environment light and hit delete, but I'm just going to turn off global lighting. Yep, that's going to turn off everything. And so if I switch back to my camera view, I can see the effects that area light is having. And then if I go into my scene, this is where I can decide, let me make sure I bump it all the way up. Maybe I want to bump some exposure. Maybe I want to pull the light in even closer. So it can be a little bit more intense.
And you can make it bigger too.
Yep, I can definitely make
it bigger.
More
area.
So that it covers more area. I can hold on to this, the scale, same way as if I were to scale like an object, you can scale your camera up. It's camera. Why I keep saying camera? Scale your light up.
Very cool.
So I can move that over there. I can bump up the exposure a little bit and put these people back in the frame. Now I want to add another camera. A camera. Why do I keep saying camera? Y'all know it. If I say camera, y'all know I mean like. So I'm just going to duplicate this one. So Control D. All right. And this one, I'm going to move down here. I want it underneath them. I'm going to scale this one up. And I want to make sure it's not behind that plane. All right, there we go. Move this one up, and this one I'm going to give like a kind of a red and play with these lights.
Yes, Cody says, ooh, lighting looks awesome. Dari says, wow, yes, this is looking really nice. I like that.
Let's see. And you know what? I need to save my work.
Okay.
Somebody in the chat should have reminded me to do that. Y'all failing me. Y'all know we're supposed to save our work. So let's just put, we're just gonna put AL for Adobe Live. Yeah, no auto save. No auto save in Stager. So
so make sure you save yourself. Control S, Control S, Command S.
Control S, Control S. Yes. Alrighty. So from here, going back into kind of my camera view, this is where, you really can tweak the light so you can really see what type of effect that they're having on the artwork. And we're going to add some material so we can kind of get some light bouncing off some things, some different things. I may want to bring this red light up a little bit more. Here, maybe scale it down a little bit and see how that looks. All right, so let's add some materials. So these materials, it's almost kind of like, I don't know. I don't want to say coloring, but I mean, it's so simple just to add different colors to your scene, whether they're matte, whether they're metallic, whether they're metal, they're glass. You can make certain things glow in your scene. Some of them are fabric, wood. There's just all different types. And again, I mean, they all come right here with Stager. And there's even more on Adobe Stock. So they have a lot of free materials that you can even download. And, you license them and they're going to come right over into your libraries. Tomorrow, we're actually going to be making our own materials in Sampler. We're going to start that first, and then we'll be able to use those materials in the scene that we're going to be creating in Stager. But you got a lot of choices here to use. And I have some that are my favorite. I'm going to try not to use them. I'm going to use them. I know. So I don't even know why I said that. All right. But we're going to take this metal one, and it's as simple as you can either just click on the object that you want to add it to and then click on the material, or you can drag the material over to where you want to place it. Right. So I'm just going to click on this abstract loop. And then I'm going to click on that metal material, and you should be able to see that it gave it kind of a different kind of look in there. You can see that there's some things that's shining off of it, but you can adjust, you can make adjustments to the materials once you actually put them on there. So if I were to select this abstract loop that I added to, under my properties, I can see that I've added the metal material to it. I can come down here and I can change the color of the metal. I can decide, how rough I want it. I can also decide if I want it to be a little bit more matte by putting the roughness up. If I don't want it to be as metallic as it is, I can adjust the metallic, the opacity. One thing that I really, really like about Stager is it educates me. Let me put this roughness back down. If I don't know what something is, and trust me, there's still a lot of 3D terminology that I do not know. Stager tells me what it means and what it is. If you just hover over it, it'll tell you. There was things like this specular level. I wouldn't have known what that is, but you know, now I know, oh, it's the strength of the light reflections as they're hitting off the surface, you know, how far they're going to bounce and how strong they're going to be. So that was such a big help to me as I was trying to learn what certain things did, because my philosophy is come in here, take the thing that you can go left and right, take it all the way to the left, see what it do. Then take it to the other extreme, see what it do. And then figure out what you like in the middle. That's how I learned, but it's super helpful.
That's why they made the slider that way.
Yeah. Just slide it.
That's
slide and see what happens. All right. So these materials, you can really spend like kind of all day with these materials and just dragging them and dropping them and seeing what type of effects. So if I were to kind of put metal, you know, metal really kind of blacked it out. And it's kind of reflecting off of there. If I were to take, let's see, this hard plastic is one of my favorite. That actually really didn't change it too much either. Let's see what frosty glass. Probably frosty glass won't do much.
There's not enough light to reflect off of the background right now.
If we went back, you know, the default is going to light us up a little bit more matte. And so, I mean, you're getting real-time effects of how, you know, the light is going to really work with those type of materials. Let's see what we want to use here. Let me zoom back in. Let's try to put this glass, and we may add just a little bit more light. I really like that effect of putting the glass on the kind of the abstract loop that we were using there. So we're actually going to brighten up this up just a little bit more. We're going to go into our lights, turn our global lights back on, but then bring down the intensity of our environment light. So we can have a little bit of light coming in from our scene.
Wow.
And then we can always change the rotation of it to see. What's better?
Well, Dari says slide to the left, slide to the right.
Cha-cha slide. Cha-cha slide with them sliders. That's right. Cha-cha slide with them sliders. Let's see. We're going to put, matter of fact, I think I want to use, I'm such a fan of this gloss paint. I love the way this is one that I use a lot. I like how it has a slight reflections in the back, and it just reminds me of like wet paint on a car. If we were to give this, that was really pretty. And how you get that nice little kind of gradient in there. I think I'm going to take these metals and put these, let's see how those kind of look on the cylinders. Nah, don't really like those there. Maybe we'll use gloss paint, but then make these purple and make them a little bit more rough. Now, to easily add a material to something else that you already have on another object, it's as simple as you kind of using the eyedropper tool. All you have to do is select one of the objects that you want to add the material to, hit the I key. That's going to give you that little eyedropper, and then you can simply just select another material, and that'll add it to it. Real quick way in order to get your materials onto other things. So I'm literally just hitting the V key, which is going to take me back to my select cursor, hit I, and then just click on whichever one that I want. Yep.
The keyboard shortcuts are super awesome.
And they speed up the workflow like crazy, crazy. All right, let's see here what we want to do. I really want to work with these lights. I want this scene, because one thing that I will do after I render out any scene in Stager is I always take it into Photoshop. And that's where I really get to boost, the brightness or the contrast. I play with the levels. As of late, I've really liked to add a little grain to some of my photos. I don't know why. I wasn't a grain person before, but I really like adding a little bit of grain. And so for that post-processing in Photoshop, it really just helps kind of make it pop.
Nice.
All right, so we're going to add a couple of more things. So we still have those. If you remember, we downloaded those tendrils. It was like kind of the thing that was coming out of the plants. We're going to add those. So if you license them, again, those one of the things we downloaded for free. it will be in your library. I'm going to go back to my viewport so I can see when it comes in. And then I'm gonna take us off of ray tracing for a little bit.
While that pops in, I'm gonna remind everybody that if you're just joining us, Jaz Da Artist is creating a scene in Stager using free 3D models from Adobe Stock. There are some links in the chat right now that you can click through and take you straight into the Adobe Stock and download some free materials. Try the free trial of the Stager, and create your own scene. Follow some of these instructions here. This is awesome. Look at that.
All right, so we just pulled in this little plant here. So over in our scene, I'm going to break it out again, so I have just a lot more control over both of the pieces. And you see, this one's made up of actually 3 different pieces. We have the planter, we have the plant itself, we also have the dirt. I'm not going to use the dirt. What I want these crazy looking vines coming out of here, because those are fun to me.
Wow.
So I'm going to bring those in here, and I probably want to use 2 of them. So I'm going to scale this one down a little bit and hit Control D, and maybe kind of move one to the back. And you really just you got to keep switching between that viewport and that camera, because you'll put something together in viewport and you'll be like, oh, that look good, and you switch to your camera and it's nowhere even near in the scene. Look at that. Look, they nowhere in the scene. They look good, but yeah, it's always you kind of got to work with them. So let's see a little bit. And so this is where I would kind of go back to my transform, and see if I can change that pivot point. That way it'll allow me to make the adjustments right here in the camera view. I don't have to come back out to viewport. Let's bring this one up, change that to the top.
Oh, Dari again, he says, this looks like a smooth jazz album cover.
Pun intended.
That's right, pun intended.
All right.
Nice.
I kind of like how that's looking here. All righty. Now, one thing I struggle, and you tell me if you struggle with this, Dan. My biggest thing is color palettes. Sometimes I have a tendency, I'm not gonna say sometimes, pretty much all the time, I have a tendency to just use way too many colors and not limit it to maybe like just 4 or 5, and just the selection of them. Do you have that issue when you create art, trying to nail down a color palette?
Yes, I use all primary colors. As whichever one color is next, that's the one that's going in now on the drawing. And and then I slowly tweak them and get the tone that I'm looking for. But no, I have a bad problem with colors. That's something that I can't see clearly until it's halfway done. It's like, there's some bad choices here I need to fix.
Colors. That's my Achilles heel. And so what I've had to do is just sometimes I have an idea of what colors I might want to use, but more times than not, I don't. And I've really just had to rely on on Adobe Color, or things like Colors, and just sit there and just keep hitting the button, or just keep scrolling until I see a color combination that will pop out. And then those I even save in my libraries. Like if I go over here to my libraries, my hues, when you're going through Adobe Color, you see something, you just add it to the library, and I'm like, okay. That way I know to come back. You can kind of see they all kind of look similar. They really have no variation.
You like what you like.
Yeah.
Of course.
So, all right, trying to figure out. Go ahead.
I like to take color combinations from graffiti. There's some like when a graffiti piece hits you really well, and it's like, whoa. So then I'd make a note of those colors for later use for myself. Yes.
Nice. You saying that reminded me how I've used Adobe Capture on the phone. Every now and then I'll be out somewhere and I'll see something. I think I was at E3 several years ago when they first released it to the public, and they had this big Far Cry poster, and the colors on it was beautiful, and I was like, oh, I need to remember those colors. And in that moment I was like, oh, I'm about to use Adobe Capture. You can literally pull up your phone, take a picture, and it will scan, and it will give you the color palette. So that's been extremely extremely useful. All right, I feel like I can sit here and play with these for a while. We're not going to do that. I'm going to make another one. We're going to scale this one down. Maybe rotate it, give it a little something different.
Different look to it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And maybe not put it right there. Just no, we'll figure this out. Okie dokie. All right. Not bad. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add in. Now I told you everything that we was using was free. We got some models from Adobe Stock. We've been using some of the things that are already pre-built into Stager as far as some of these. So the next one that we're going to use is actually in a pack that I created. So I'm going to actually go to my website. So to commemorate this beautiful day of being on Adobe Live, for all of my viewers, those people who are out there watching, supporting us right now, Dan, I love you, beautiful people. I put together just a free 15 model abstract pack that you can go to my website. You can download it. We're going to use something from here. These are models that I've been able to kind of put together. Again, just abstract models that I've been able to model that I like pulling into my artwork, just kind of creating something funky and whatnot. So absolutely free. I created specifically just for Adobe Live for day one for all of my people that are viewing. So the next piece, that we're going to use today is actually going to be one of these that we're just going to bring in to that scene to give it a little more, make it a little bit more interesting. So you can definitely go there and you can download it. You can see all of the images that are in there, and it's super simple to bring in a model. Let me show you how we can bring in something. Let me see. I may have it actually already saved. Do I? I may have to bring it in. So in order to import a model into Stager, you're simply just going to go to File, go to Import, and choose 3D Model. And it's going to have you navigate on your desktop where you have that model saved. And for this one, let me see. I think it is... I have to remember the number for the model. Let me go back to my viewport. And once this comes in. Oh, well, actually, I forgot. I can preview them. That's super helpful.
Yes. I'm going to add that you also have some source files for those of you who subscribe to Jaz Da Artist here on Behance.
Yes. Yeah. All right. So this is the one that we're going to be using. It looks like it's abstract number 9 in that pack. It's like these little bubbles. We're going to bring that in. So it's literally as simple as going to File, Import, 3D Model, and then just searching for that model that you've downloaded. So if I go back to the viewport camera, I'm going to turn off ray tracing for a little bit. It's going to bring it in, and it may be a little bit small. So you can easily just scale it up. Again, I'll just hover over one of those scale options, hold down Shift and pull it. And that's going to allow me just to scale it up. And we're going to bring this over. We're going to try to place it in here with our folks. We may have to rotate it and scale it around. Let me go to my camera view, see what it's looking like. Move it up. I don't want to rotate it like that. Oh. Not do that. Now, okay, so this is a learning moment. So if you notice, I just went to my camera view and then I started turning, and I really didn't want to lose that angle that I had. And sometimes, it happens. I should have been in the viewport when I started trying to turn that stuff around. What's really great is you can, up here at the top, you have this option to camera undo, not the same thing as Control Z. So like if I hit Control Z right now, it's not going to put my camera back. It's literally just going to put back, the item that I may have just moved in the scene. But in order to get that camera back, you can just hit camera undo, and I may have to hit it like a couple of times actually to see if it gets me back to that camera angle. Let's see. Oh, I might have moved way too much. It might not retain all of the history. But if you don't make too many movements, you'll be able to go ahead and click this, and it'll kind of get you back. Oh, well, there, it moved me back. It's moving me back. Oh, we don't want to go all the way back that way. All right. So you're kind of limited on your history there. But if you don't move your camera too much, you can always click that and get back to where you need to be at. So let's make this a little bit bigger. I don't want them to be so congested. And we just kind of want to make it look like it's bubbles. That's what we're going for. And don't be so concerned at how the viewport looks like, because this looks a mess. Because remember, it looks a mess. We're only worried about what's going to be right here in this frame.
There.
That's all that we're concerned about. So yeah, if his foot was sticking out here and stuff was, nobody gonna see that. Nobody gonna see that. So this is all we want folks to see. All right, so I'm gonna go over here and see if I can get my gizmo to show up here so that I can kind of figure out how I might want this, how I might want these bubbles. I don't really want them obstructing the view of the models. So just kind of playing with the placement to see how I want them to show up. Maybe playing with the rotation a little bit. And again, this is one of them things that you can just kind of fixate on and keep moving, keep playing until your brain says, I like that.
All right.
That's what I'm waiting for. My brain to say, okay, that's good. Stop right there. And let's go. I'll move it up. And I don't want it intersecting with their face. All right, not too bad. All righty, let's go back to our materials. Let's turn our ray tracing on just to see what we're getting here. All right, and let's see how glass might look on these. Kind of give them that idea that they're bubbles, that they're kind of floating. Not sure if I care about the bubbles being glass along with this. Let's put that back to metal. I'm not against that. And then think about what type of colors we might want on these little tendos here. I'm going to show you this material. This is the material I was talking about that I used way too much. And I told you I was going to use it today. I first said I wasn't, but then I realized I was lying, and I don't want to lie to the chat. So we're going to use it. It's this paper one right here. This material gets really wild. It's called paper pattern. I love this material. It allows you to tweak so many settings, and there's so many different variations of the pattern that you can play around with. We got to turn on the environment light so y'all can really see what's going to happen when I put this pattern on here. I want to make sure y'all can see that. Let's turn this intensity up. Turn it up. Okay, so this paper pattern right here, I'm going to go ahead and I'll throw it on here. So if you can see, default is like this black background. You kind of have these metallic kind of yellow rectangles that are on there. It looks good. It looks great like that. But I mean, you can take it so many different places. With any of the materials, you can change the offset. Let me see. I can turn the ray tracing off. I think I may want to keep it on. You just kind of get a better effect. But for this, so that you can see what it's actually doing, I'll keep it off for right now. But I can change the offset of the pattern that's on there. I can also repeat the pattern. So I can make it really big, or I can make it really small if I really want to see a lot of that detail. You can change the resolution of it. And normally I like to bump it up to 2048 just so it's a lot sharper. Now with some of these materials, again, the same thing. If you look for that little parametric icon, that's kind of going to let you know that you got some additional settings that you can really tweak and you can kind of make it your own. And so the same thing with this one. It has some default preferences. So if I go to green glossy, it changes the color, but you can see this kind of design. Let me go to viewport. That way I can kind of really zoom in without changing my camera. You can see, and that's just kind of the default, but all of this you can change the shapes and all of those things. There's another preset called blue rough. So you kind of got some little waves in there. Orange shiny. That one's really neat.
Yes.
And so even just with the default, you can decide, what two colors do I kind of really want to work with here? You can change the color of the rectangle. Maybe we'll do, a blue, green. I don't think that's what we're going to go with, but just showing you. We can change the roughness of just the pattern itself. We can make it so that it's not metallic. We can make it matte. We have print thickness. We also have these shapes. So this is where it gets really cool. The one that I'm just absolutely infatuated with is this organic one. And then if we change the pattern selection, I think it's organic B. Oh, I don't know why. I just love that one so much. And I always do like black and white or some other funky colors. You can go back up, change the repeat pattern.
Wow.
To make it look really awesome.
It looks alive.
Yeah, it does. It kind of looks like it should be in the ocean, like seaweed or something. But there's so many different combinations. So I can change the pattern type to line. And so, you know, it changes to that. Let's see, we got shape. And just in here, changing any of these is really going to give it a different look. If I take it back to line and do zigzag smooth, just kind of waves them out a little bit more. I can do straight. I can do thick lines. Wow. I can make them, let me see, if I go back and change it, I think it's, if you change it to shape, you have control over whether you want them to be triangles. Let me make them a little bit bigger. But just so many different options here.
When you use the eyedropper to make all the other tentacles the same, you can still then go into each tentacle and then tweak it out. So it's not really exactly the same every one.
Exactly.
You know, I like that.
You don't have to make them identical. And, you know, and the list kind of just keeps going on. I mean, there's a whole nother drop down over here where now I can kind of warp the pattern. I can change the offset in different orientations and directions. The paper material, it just gets really wild with some of the options you have with the built-in materials that are already here in Stager. So
that's what's scary. All the menus. Then you open a program and all you see is menus, so you don't know where to start. Yeah.
So let's go in here and you know, if it's not broke, we're not gonna fix it. So I'm gonna same old two-step. I'm gonna keep my little organic and my organic B that I love to use. But let's think about some colors here. I'm trying to stay with a limited palette. I'm trying not to go crazy. So unfortunately I have to change this blue and this green. But maybe we're already working with purple and that red. So I'm going to, let me change the color of that and then change this blue one. Well, let's just see what that looks like. We turn on ray tracing. You know, I may want to pop a color in there. Yeah, I really can't get away from adding something bold and crazy. It's in my soul.
Do
it. So again, you know how we talked about transferring this material over to this one. I'm just going to select it. I'm going to hit eyedropper tool. Now, once you've added a material to something else and you do want to change the parameters, you do have to unlink it, because if I start just kind of changing the parameters for this one, it's going to change it for this one as well. So you just have to go up under materials, and under the material you added, you just want to unlink material. And now I can change these settings independently from that one. So if I did want to give it a different look, and maybe we'll see just how it looks if I were just to switch these colors. So maybe if I make this one in purple, may not. Let's see here.
I'm starting to feel like I'm at the gardens in
Botanical Gardens.
Botanical Gardens, yes. They set up all these amazing exhibits full of color and things that look like they could be moving.
Yeah. So let's see. Maybe we'll add. Let me see if we can add a different color into here. Maybe blue. I kind of like the way that blue looks. It's not bad. And we'll just copy this one back in the back. All right, let's drop some of these lights. We're going to try to work on our lights again. I really want these lights to really be the main source. So let's see if we can get these in here a little bit closer.
Looking good. For those of you who are just joining us, Jaz Da Artist is creating a scene in Stager. If you're watching this on YouTube, please join us at behance.net/Adobe Live, where you can join us in the chat, ask questions, leave comments, suggestions, and get to know everybody else leaving comments in the chat. They're talking about their computer systems. And Garrett says, they're in full rendering. My laptop sounds like a helicarrier. Thinking of getting some tie down straps for it, because I'm pretty sure it sounds like it's about to take off. I'm fans, boy.
That's right. And fans get to going.
Yeah.
All right. So what we're going to do, we're just going to duplicate some of these area lights so we can make the lights a little bit more intense. And I don't know how this is.
There you go.
Freestyling a little bit over here.
Yeah.
And that's what you gotta do. You just gotta see how certain things kind of work together.
Yes.
And keep playing around with it. Let's see. I don't know if I want him to be that dark. I kind of like the way that looks.
Yes.
And then again, you know, taking it over into Photoshop, it just adds that little touch to it. Once you get it in there. And it's only really 3 things I do in Photoshop. I always do a brightness and contrast and play with that just a little bit. I'll adjust the levels just a little bit and then throw a hue and saturation layer on it. And that's only because I like to take that slider of the hue and just go to the left and see, oh, how would this look in different color combinations real quick.
Right.
Just to see and possibly bump up the saturation. But those are normally just the 2 things. Oh no, and I will say this. I do like to add a color lookup and go through those. And that has really made a difference with some of the things that I've created. Okay. I forgot about those lookup lookup channels or lookup tables. What is it? Or maybe it's just called color lookups.
LUTs. Are they LUTs, right? LUT?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
They're just color lookups. I almost forgot about those. All right. I feel like I might want to. I feel like I kind of want like some hint of green coming up from this corner. I don't know if I really like. I want to move this over a little bit.
All the colors.
See what happened? Didn't I say limited color palette? I did say that when I started. Now we got yellow, we got green. My struggle. It's my struggle. Let me turn this off a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and add another light. We're going crazy now. I'm gonna duplicate that. And then I gotta remember to save.
Yes, that's right. Cody Bear says, looks awesome. Looking good. I like it. Please, everyone, stay tuned for the XD Creative Challenge with Ruben Cespedes immediately following to this stream right now. So there's plenty more for you to have fun with Adobe.
All right. While that's loading, while we wait, we hydrate.
There you go. That's right. Cody shared some tips, and I didn't mention it, but there it is. PSA: sip, flip, stretch, and save. Sip some water.
I like that. I like that.
Sip some water, flip your canvas, stretch your wrist, and save your work.
Save your work.
Yes, that's right.
I like that. All right. Let's see. So we got our other light here.
There we go.
Maybe we just put it here. And we were thinking some green. We're going all wild and crazy. And I
got a question about the male and female models.
Yep.
So those were just standing models. They're not necessarily models that you can move the limbs, are they?
Not here in the software because it doesn't, but
okay.
They are FBX models. So if you do take them into another application, maybe something like Blender, Cinema 4D, you are able to pose them.
Okay.
Yep. You can
bring the pose back into into here to then set them where you want them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. You can modify them in any other software that allows you to do it. I would do that with Blender occasionally. If I know there's a certain way that I want them to be manipulated, I'll do that in that software and then just export them out as an OBJ. And you can also export them out as a FBX and bring them in here as well. But yeah, you can export them out and then you'll be able to work with them in that orientation. Let's go back to camera and turn ray tracing on. And let's bump up. We got our intensity. We might have to move this one up a little bit more. So we can get, and then if it's not as intense as you want it, you do have the option to use some other lights. They definitely have more intensity. This point light is, well, this directional one is kind of like the sun. You can see how bright it is. But the point light also gives off a lot of light, or you can simply just duplicate the lights and that'll add another one that gives a little bit more intensity. Let me move that one up here. Oh, that one might be behind something. Let's see, let's go back. Might be too close. All right, we're getting a little bit of that green in there. All righty. So next, I'm gonna play with the environment light just to maybe give it a little bit more light. And then we're going to render it out and see what we can do in Photoshop just to give it a little bit more pop and play with it. All right. And you know, oh no, we need to put a material on this. I don't want that lady looking like that with that default material on there. Why didn't nobody tell us that? Nobody in the chat told us.
Because we got time.
We put this on this lady so she wouldn't be indecent, and we forgot to put a color on it. Now the struggle. Now I got to figure out what color that's supposed to be. I do think that I'm going to use this gloss paint. Because that's just another one that I really like. And then we just kind of figure out the color that we want to use. Let me go back to camera and put on the ray tracing. And we'll play around with some. I don't think I want yellow. No blue. Oh, that purple's not bad. It's kind of sticking around the same thing we've been doing, not getting too too crazy.
Yeah, subtle.
Yeah, let me bring this back a little bit. It's kind of intersecting with that. That's not bad. And let's see how these bubbles, because they are supposed to be bubbles. We did put glass on them, but we do have this water. This water works really nice too, to give it kind of a little bubble look. So let's see what type of effect that kind of has on it. And I can see how that kind of gives it that little bubble. It definitely has a different look than the glass. It reflects a little bit differently. And let's kind of move some of these bubbles up. And back to our viewport. And back in. All right. Now, if we wanted to, we could even put something, here on the models. I don't know why I like them in this matte black, but that's an option as well. You can there's really nothing wrong you can do. Let's see, if we were just to play with it, let's throw on, this is really a nice funky one. This terrazzo, it has a lot of different little specs in it that you're able to customize. One, you can tell it how many specs you actually want in the material, and then you can customize them to, whether you want some of them metallic, what colors you want, the roughness and all of those things. You can even change the color of the concrete, which is behind it. We could give this, let's say, we're just gonna go wild. We're just gonna throw anything out there. We're gonna go back to that black. we can make it
I
a
like
little bit
that.
more.
Yes.
Make it a little bit more rough. And then as far as like these little specks here, I always like to bump up the resolution, make it a little bit more sharp. Does this have some presets? This has some presets as well. So some automatic, default color combinations that you can at least start from. You can randomize the scale of these specs, and it'll kind of change, how big they are, make some small, make some large. You got some surface grain you can throw in there. Let's see where we get down to where we can inserts. Here we go. So right now it's 5 colors that's showing, and it's primarily these, but maybe you only want it to be 3 colors.
Okay.
And then you can customize what you want these first 3 colors to be. And let's see, I'm just throwing anything in here. And what's so great about, that actually kind of looks kind of cool. I'm not mad at that. That's right up my alley. Something, crazy, crazy. Yeah, I actually kind of like that. But you can really do a lot. And if you've ever worked with any other software to try to create a pattern like this in something like Blender, it's they use the node system, and it's definitely a learning curve. But they just kind of make it so easy in Stager, and even in Sampler tomorrow we'll see exactly how easy it is. So I'm gonna take that off of her. But that was, there's just so many opportunities and options. So I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna render this out. I'm looking at our time, 4:40.
Yes.
So I'm gonna go over to the render tab. So the render has its own separate tab from design. Design tab, that's where we were doing everything, making our cameras, lights, adding in our models, all of that good stuff. And our render tab is where we set our settings for how we want that main shot to actually render out for our photograph. So over here in our export settings, if we had multiple cameras, we would see them all listed there. Okay. So you see the camera that I was, using, I had that 1080 by 1080. I can click all of them and they will all render out one after the other, but we only have the one here. Now, normally I would bump this up to 300 resolution. Just because I want it to be high quality. I will also come over here to my presets and I would bump this up either to high or to ultra, but we're just going to keep it on medium, and we're going to keep it on 72 just so we don't have a long render time. You can name the file, of course, but then you have the option to export it out as a PSD or a PNG. The great thing about the PSD is that if you export it out like that, it's going to export it with several different layers that allows you to very easily capture portions of the artwork. So if you wanted to change the color of something specific in it, you're able to very easily isolate that piece of the artwork. So I'm not that fancy in Photoshop, but for somebody to take it in there and to do some added tweaks, being able to select those portions without having to try to mask them all out with like the pen tool and stuff could be really beneficial. So we're just going to do just a PNG, and I'll keep it as AL, full resolution. We'll keep it on that, and let's see what it gives us our render time. Matter of fact, let me say first.
Yes. Yes. Bliss says, I'm digging the artsy surrealistic setup. Yes, definitely surrealistic. I love it.
All right, so we're saved. Let's go ahead and let's see what it's going to give us for our render time.
Just until lunch or dinner.
So and so while that is rendering, I'm going to kind of let that do its thing. I'm going to pull up a image.
And that was going to be one of my questions about the PSD files, because you said that you hop onto Photoshop to do some extras and with textures and so on. And I was wondering about that. Do we get the flat image or do we get the layers? And so now that you mentioned it, I like that idea of exporting as a PSD. So then, like you said, I don't have to sit there and crop things out. And yes.
Makes it real easy to isolate certain things, and you can add a different background, all of that stuff. Very helpful. So let's see, we're about 46 seconds. So here's initially the image. And you see you can see how the light is kind of hidden off. And this was, kind of, again, taking it over into Photoshop, really making those colors a lot more intense. We added some additional things in this one. But that's how kind of it initially came out there. Let's see. Should I show a preview of what we're going to do tomorrow, or keep the folks in suspense? What do you think? How do you do with certain things like that? Sometimes there's value in showing, individuals like, this is what we're going to do. And they're like, oh, I got to tune in. But then you also risk somebody saying, oh, I don't care about that. I'm not coming back.
I think, I like to keep the suspense so that it makes people come back. Come on back. Definitely. Come on back. That's right.
All right. Yes. All right. So we're almost done. We're got like about 10 seconds.
Cool. And I will say that Jasmyn and I will be back tomorrow at 12 p.m. Pacific for part 2 of Intro to 3D Design. So, and that's going to include this other app. What's that app called?
Sampler, Adobe Sampler. So Adobe Sampler allows you to make your own 3D materials. Yep. Ooh. So everything that we had in that little design tab that already came with Stager, that's what we're making. We're making our own. And Sampler is amazing. I mean, you can make a material starting from an image, maybe an old piece of artwork. I've made a lot of materials, just importing an old piece of artwork, especially some of my Gann art that's really colorful, and then using that as the base to my material. And then I'll add in a lot of the different filters that they have to kind of manipulate it, warp it, add, different textures on top. All right.
I like what you said, Gann art. That's awesome. Yes. You pull from everywhere. That's good.
I can't sit still. I'm always into something. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it is what it is.
It's a good thing.
All righty. So we're going to go ahead and open up. We're going to open up Photoshop. So I'm just going to open this within there, and I will then close out. Do you want to save? Sure. Let me go ahead and save it just one more time.
And there you go. Look at that wallpaper. Yes.
Bragger. All right. So there we go. Oh, that's tomorrow. No, get out of there. No, that's tomorrow. All right. So
surprise.
All right. They're like, oh, I'm coming back tomorrow. What was that? Something free? All right. So so in Photoshop, I will bring it over, just import the PNG, and I normally just work with 3 adjustments and see if they can bring any more life to the artwork. So the brightness and contrast, and again, my model, put that thing all the way to the left, put it all to the right, and figure out where you like it in between, and really just figure out what kind of mood I'm going for. I don't want it to be that dark. Don't want to be that bright. Yeah, definitely brightened it up. But I do like playing with the contrast. And so I'll sit here, this is another one of them things where you can just sit here and move these little sliders in and out all day and get lost. So I'll put that right there, see how that looks initially. I'll then go into the levels, and normally it's just this one in the middle that I play with the most. Not too much on the ones on the end, just to kind of see how that lights it up all the way. Wow. We don't want that much light.
No. I don't know. I would be like a screenshot, change something, screenshot, all of them. Yeah.
Because you'll change it and then you never get back to it. You'd be like, oh, exactly. Wait, I liked what I had before. That's smart.
Or save new version. Right. Version 1, 2, 3 to 100.
To 100.
Yeah.
All right, let's put that right there. Then let's hue and saturation. I love coming in here and using this slider just to see. Sometimes I find a better color combination. I'm like, oh, you know what? We're going with that. Yeah. Or I'll even look, and this is where the PSD really comes into handy. If you export it out like that, you know, for instance, these little tendrils that we have down here at the bottom, I really like that you know, yellow color. I wish I would have figured that out when I was in Stager. But if I had the PSD, I could easily be able to isolate those. I mean, of course, I can take the selection tool and try to, you know, bring it around it in order to select it. But that PSD and having those flat images would have just made it a lot easier. So, you know, there's almost really no reason not to export it out as PSD, because I'm going to bring it into Photoshop anyway. And if I don't use the flat layers, then they're just there. So, but I always like to come in here and just move the hue slider just to see if there's any other color combinations that I feel look really nice. I don't know, but I really kind of like that.
Yes. Oh, wow.
I really kind of like that. What's that? Plus 84. And then I got to remember what the number is so I can come back to it.
Do you ever write them down? Do you have a notebook and sometimes you write down some notes like that so that you can always find that spot?
What I will do is kind of like just what you said. If I like 84, I'll go ahead and I will name this. That's when I'll name a layer. I'll name that one 84. I'll name that one 84. And then I'll just add another hue saturation, turn this one off, and then see if there's another one.
Okay.
But yeah, I really kind of like that one. If I see things like this, now these, you know, the little lights here, I don't really care for the reflection. And I could have moved that away in my scene in order to make sure that they didn't come across. I didn't do that, but here in Photoshop, this is something I would just kind of correct. Now, again, I'm not a Photoshop whiz, so probably the method in which I would use to take this out would probably not be the method that other folks are using. I'm sure there's an easier way, because I would go in super manual with a soft brush and bring the flow down, and I'll sit here and just keep doing like this until it gets out of there. So, all right, got that. I really do like this color combination. And then I'll throw, let's see, we'll go through these color lookups. Because these will add sometimes some nice variation to the piece. That's really nice as well.
Very cool. Xavier is asking, does it render out passes or layers? And since we are in Photoshop, I'm not sure exactly if that had to do with Stager. Does it render out passes or layers? Does that sound familiar to you?
I don't know how to accurately answer that.
Okay.
I don't.
Ask the question again, Xavier.
In layers. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I would think it's in passes. I feel like there may have been even something in the render settings. We may have to pull it back up and just look to see if there's something in the UI that states that. I really like this candlelight cue. It just kind of muted it a little bit, and I think oh no, it's not the candlelight cube. What is it? It's no, not that one. That's a little too warm. Oh, see, now this is what, it was the drop blue. That is really nice. These little window things are kind of throwing me off, so I'm gonna go in my very bootleg way to get these out of here. Very bootleg. I mean, very bootleg way.
Oh,
this is don't laugh at me, DTM.
I'm not laughing, but I thought they were cool.
Oh, you like them? You
like
the window reflections?
The little windows, yeah.
I don't know. I like that. Okay, they gotta go. And again, like I said, this is probably not the best. Somebody probably in the chat is like, use content aware fill or something. Nah, those. We just.
There is there's a few tools here, especially once you make a selection and I forget the names, but there we go. Sure.
All right. Look, can you see it? Is it like it's still there?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you can't see it?
I can see it. So
it's not faded well.
No, and that's okay because I'm sure that you can take your time and do it better. And which brings up another question for me is, you know, I'm looking at a monitor now. If I look at a different monitor, the colors are going to be a little different. If I look on my iPad versus my Mac. So, you know, what kind of monitor are you working with that is helping you see these colors as cleanly as possible?
That probably does make a big difference too. What type? Oh, somebody said stamp tool. Stamp tool would have been yes. Yes,
Yeah.
stamp tool. Who was that? Who said that? Shout out
Xavier.
to Xavier. Yes. I feel like that kind of looks good. That's still, you can still see it.
No, that's cool. You see the different color. That's all.
We're gonna.
That's all.
All right. All right. My skill in Photoshop is meager. All right. But I do like coming in here and looking at these. That's another one. I don't know if I just got a weird taste, but I really like the way that looks. Yeah. So I will play around with these, and then.
Oh wow! All of those
like
are great. Yes.
Yeah, they're not bad. They all give it a kind of a different feel.
That's a kind of a cover right there. Bam.
Let's see. I know this horror blue. Oh, that's nice. That's nice as well. Let's see what this the muted tones give it a nice different look. Horror blue. Okay, sometimes horror blue works, sometimes it doesn't. This is one that I do like, but not on every piece does it give great results.
Right.
Ooh, that's sultry.
Look at that. Yes.
I think that the first one up there was a really nice one. I think it was close to that candlelight. I think that's the one we're gonna go with. Crisp Winter. Was it Crisp Winter or Crisp Warm? Nope, not that one. Drop Blues. That's what it was. Okay, so we're gonna stick with the Drop Blues. And then last thing, I kind of been a fan for grain. Oh, I'm gonna need your help, or someone's help in the chat. What is the combination of keys that allows me to create a copy of these, merge them all together as its own copy at the top?
Photoshop people.
It's like Control Shift Alt I.
Yeah.
No, something. It's a heck of a combination. It's not that.
It's a combination that will lump all those layers together.
Yes.
And still.
Lump them all together and give it to me separate up here. Shift.
I would just copy them all.
Hey, I like your style. There we
select
go.
all.
Yep.
Select
That's
them
what
and then
Control J.
Yeah. And boom. That's
and
it.
then merge. There
you go. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Oh, somebody said Command Shift E.
Okay.
So
let's see.
That would be Control. So let's see here. So I'm on a window. So I'm thinking that's Control Shift E. Oh no, that took everything. Okay, that was everything. Command Shift Option E. So Control Shift Alt E. Let's try that.
I see. And Blizzard says you need to first add a layer. Okay, good.
Very nice. That was it. Okay. Phew. I gotta write that down.
I'm deep into Illustrator. Photoshop is like, some things escape me until I'm there doing it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Illustrator is your jam, and and Fresco.
That's right.
So then the last thing is I'll come in and I will add a little bit of grain using the noise, and just a hint, just a subtle hint, not much at all. I kind of like that. I kind of like the way that looks. And ta-da! That's nice. What we got. That's what we got. And I mean, we could have went, a little bit more crazy, or we could have put some more, materials on them. We could have added some more objects and things like that. But this was literally with the stock models that are free and that are there with Stager. Imagine if you were modeling your own things, or you decide that you wanted to purchase, because I mean, a lot of people sell their models, and I mean, it's some great models and scenes that you can put together. But just with Stager natively, how it is, and what Adobe is offering free as far as stock models, you could really put together something pretty dope. So
nice.
That's what we did, and we're going to be doing the same thing tomorrow, putting together another scene using those models. So super dope. Thank you very much, Jaz Da Artist. Everybody give Jaz Da Artist a hand. Show your appreciation here in the chat. And I was gonna say, so when you want to get rid of those that highlight that you covered over, my way, I just had to pull up Photoshop to remember.
I make a selection, and then I go to fill and content aware. And then what happens is that Photoshop itself, so you're gonna have to make a selection. Yep. Boom, boom, boom.
Bam.
And yep. And then we're gonna go to edit and fill. I think it's edit, fill. Yep.
Or this
and
one.
then
Which one? Fill or this one?
no, fill.
Okay.
Oh, you can. I guess that's it. And then make select content aware.
Okay. And let's
And
see.
then hit OK.
Okay, so I see what it is. Bring in this little. I might have not.
Yeah.
My selection was a little janky.
Yeah,
but
right.
I see what my selection was a little janky, but I get the premise. If I would have made it a little sharper, it was just taking. So I guess it's taking the pixels from around and filling it in. Okay.
So the more careful you are, the better it's going to be. But all of that's one cool thing about Photoshop and Illustrator is that they've been around for so long. There's like 5 ways to do the same thing. And it depends on who you are that it's going to matter.
Yeah.
So yes. All right. Thank you everybody for having us. Adobe Live will be back tomorrow at 8:30 Pacific with the Creative Cloud Express stream to start your morning. Tune in with Julia Vaca on Adobe Live as she uses the app to make an Etsy banner. Jasmyn and I will be back tomorrow at 12 o'clock Pacific time for part 2 of Intro to 3D Design. Stay tuned for the XD Creative Challenge with Ruben Cespedes immediately following this stream. Have a good day, everyone.
All right. See you, everyone. See you tomorrow.